Welcome to Sideline to Baseline with your hosts MB and Klew. And my co-host MB is traveling right now. Hopefully he's staying safe and driving well. Going back to the crib, to the wife's crib in Ohio. So MB stay safe on that road, man. Man, a lot of news going on. Obviously, we want to talk about the NBA today. A lot of NBA talk, getting ready for the All-Star weekend, All-Star game. Talk about, there was early snubs. When you think about it, you had Damian Lillard first off, and then Phoenix Suns guy, Devin Booker was another guy that was thought to be snubs. Of course, Damian Lillard got in with the coaches, and then that was followed by Devin Booker being a replacement for Anthony Davis. So I think everybody, all is well in the NBA. I think it's, the NBA just finds a way to end up doing the right thing, especially during these COVID times. It's just exciting that there's going to be an All-Star game, and they find a way to do it and have a weekend out of it as well. Man, I honestly, Pac Jam, man, Pac Jam. I gotta go ahead and tell you, Pac Jam supposed to be on here today, along with Chucky Atkins, 12-year NBA veteran, to talk some basketball. But Pac Jam sent me a video of Shannon Sharp, basically, as we call it, old school in the South, blessing out your boy Mike Tomlin. And I see Pac Jam then came in the building. What's going
Yes,
on?
sir. What's up, man? Glad to be here tonight, man. Glad to join you. What's going on, man?
I'm actually talking about that video that you just showed me.
Okay.
Probably about 15 minutes ago. I think you texted me that video.
Yeah.
And so they'll get a chance to get my raw reaction, because I almost ruined it, y'all. I tried to call him, but Pac Jam didn't answer, which was good that he didn't. So you'll get raw and uncut footage. First of all, if you guys didn't hear it, basically Shannon Sharp did what we call down south in the Bible Belt a blessing out of Mike Tomlin. Would you not say that, Pac Jam?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely blessed him out. Yes, he did.
And so when you look at what he basically said, he said, quit calling out the NFL for doing exactly what you did. You didn't bring on a black coach. None of the time during your tenure as a coordinator in a leadership role, but yet somehow you're upset that Eric Bieniemy didn't get a job. So Pac Jam, I'm gonna throw out there, and I'm gonna throw this out there first, because Pac Jam and I have so many conversations that ESPN is super late to the party with. Pac Jam would tell y'all that I've been discussing this for the past 5 years, Pac Jam?
Last 5 years consistently. The last 5 years. Easy. And even long, I would say even longer, but let's go 5 years for sure.
And my fight was with black coaches that are getting opportunities, not turning around and giving opportunities. So in short, they getting head coaching job and surrounding themselves with their white counterparts, like their white brethren. And they're wondering why they no longer get a shot, moving forward. And how white coaches seem to always bounce back and bounce on their feet, because they surround themselves with their guys. And then when those guys get hired, rehired, move up the ladder, guess what they turn around and do? Oh, old boy gave my first shot, so I bring him back on staff as a coordinator. And this happens very frequently. This is not something that happens just sometimes. It's something that happens a whole lot. And Pac Jam, this is something I said a long time ago. These black coaches that get their opportunities and then don't surround themselves with other black coaches I have no time for, don't feel sorry for, and quite frankly, you know, I don't care when you've had an opportunity. And Shannon Sharp in the conversation mentioned the name Todd Bowles. Well, Todd, you had a shot. Did you put any black guys around you? You know what I mean? Did you not surround yourself with black coaches? And Shannon Sharp also said back then, he also said that what I said a long time ago too, that a lot of times black coaches feel like once they're the head guy, they've hit that black threshold and they're afraid to hire other black coaches around them. They're afraid walking on the field with a whole line of black coaches, but yet we turn on TV and see that all the time. You know, we'll see one or two black coaches and there's 15 coaches on the football team, 2 or 3 of them black, and the rest of them, you know, are white guys. And I'm like, why should it be any different? Like, why shouldn't we be able to look and see that with some staffs, you know, black wise as well? So Pat Jam, jump in there.
Well, again, you know, going back to what you said, to reiterate what you're saying is a lot of these guys, for some strange reason, feel as though that they have to give these they have to go with the white staff, because some of them feel as though I don't want to make it as if that I'm just making it an all black thing, you know, not realizing it's about giving guys opportunity. Okay, giving guys opportunity who ordinarily wouldn't have an opportunity. You know, that's what we're asking for. Because the thing about it is, when it comes times for a head coaching position, the first thing people use against black coaches is the fact they say, well, he doesn't have the experience at a la this position, a la that coordinator position, a la that coordinator position. And it's because of the fact guys like Mike Tomlin, when they do bring a black coach on, it's not in a head leadership position, it's not in a coordinator position, it's Correct. In a quality control position. It's in positions that they don't respect from the black coach. Now, again, what's hypocritical about all of this is when you look at Bieniemy, they're saying Bieniemy didn't get a job because he wasn't the quote-unquote play caller. Well, today they discussed 5 guys who worked under Andy Reid who got a head coaching job who never called plays.
Correct.
And so the goalposts always moved constantly with a black coach. People said Marvin Lewis was too old to rehire. Well, guess what? They rehired Bruce Arians, who's older than Marvin Lewis. So again, every time they move the goalpost, it's shown in the white coach that he fits the same criteria and got a job that you wouldn't give a black guy a job who was in that same bubble. So again, that's why it's important that guys like a Mike Tomlin and even guys like Flores down in Miami, that these guys put black coaches in leadership coaching position a la coordinators, because Mike Tomlin was found out to be a lie. He told a lie in that statement, because remember, he said we hire from within. He tried to make it like, okay, the reason why I got all these white guys is because in Steeler Nation, we're hiring within, and just so happened that we got a lot of white guys within. Well, you're lying, because Todd Haley wasn't within. You went and got Todd Haley as an OC from Cincinnati. He wasn't within. So again, it showed that you're lying, that you're just doing what Shannon Sharp said. You're hiring white counterparts because it's safe.
Well, don't do that, though. Don't point out one situation. He is doing it, but he's not doing it with his black assistants as well, because he has black assistants in the past as well that he could have brought up, you know, as well. Like I don't think.
No, I brought that up. I brought that. Excuse me, because I brought that up because I wanted to bring that one because he said everything was within. All his guys come from within, and I was pointing out that okay, you went and got somebody that wasn't within, who was the opposite race.
But I'm just still to one situation. I don't.
No, reason being, I gotta hold him to that because you soapbox preach today about what the league is doing. So you can't. My thing is this: if I call you out on something, being that he called the NFL out, then I'm gonna measure you with the same measuring stick that you're measuring the NFL with. So
right, that's why he's not getting that from the hire within stuff. It don't matter. Nobody cares that you're hiring from within.
No, but right? He said that.
But that's not the point. Yeah, you're harping on a situation that really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that he didn't decide to hire within with Todd Haley. Who cares? You still didn't hire anybody that looked like you. in a leadership position. That's what's
Right.
important. Like if he went outside and brought in, black coaches to be his coordinators, you wouldn't have a problem with that. But
No, no.
and I'm just saying, like, even from the hire within, take him at his word. Like, wow, he didn't do it one time. Maybe if did you look at all the other leaders that he did hire within? Is that an anomaly? Did he really lie, or did he forget about that? So yes, it did happen once, as far as I know. But who cares about that? The most important part is, even from within, you're still not hiring people that look like you. Even from within, you're not bringing in people into leadership positions to get the same opportunity that you've been afforded. Even though you're speaking against the NFL and all their faults and what they're doing, you're not doing anything to help the situation. You're
Right.
actually doing the exact same thing that the NFL is doing. And I think that's what's most important.
It is. It is. But I was just, like I said, I was pointing out because of the fact that, like I said, I understand that he didn't hire any blacks from within, but I'm just still saying, okay, even then, when you did go out, you didn't bring a black person outside. You still went and got a white counterpart. When you said the excuse you was that you didn't have any whites in leadership positions because, quote unquote, you done so much vexing or got vetting from guys within. Those were the guys that according to you, should have filled those positions. Is what I'm saying. But at the end of the day, we know he was. We know that he is doing just what at the end of the day, he's doing just what NFL is doing he's doing it on a
But
smaller scale than what they're doing on a larger scale.
what is the deal with? I just don't understand, and we've had this conversation, like I said, for the last 5 years, off and on. Pat Jam and I have had this conversation. I find it difficult to see how these same coaches are looking at these coaching trees, and they're seeing the retreads, and they're seeing guys move into player personnel and other guys, moving into general manager positions, and as well as presidents and stuff like that. And they're looking back and rehiring the same guys that gave them opportunities in their scouting departments when they had jobs. That's what kind of world this is, man. Like, especially in NFL and in sports, you see the same guys, and you see guys give opportunities. Those guys end up moving up the ranks and then turn around and give those other guys opportunities because they move to different teams. It's almost like the black coaches are ignorant, as if they're not looking at that. So you got to bring people that you think are going to give you opportunities down the road, because all y'all going to get fired. Like, that's one thing you can promise. Like, all y'all gonna get fired. So if you want to work again, you have to move people into positions so that you'll get another shot. Because that's what we're watching. That's what we're seeing constantly.
I think too, and when we got to just call it for what it is, a lot of these guys do it for acceptance. A lot of these guys hire these white staffs because I want to be accepted, and I don't want to offend. I don't want to offend the very people that hired me, and I want them to believe that I want them to know and believe and trust in me that I see things the way they see it, because I'm accepted. I don't want to. I don't because a lot of these black coaches, and this is just my opinion. A lot of these black coaches, I feel that they're not hiring all black. They're not getting black coordinators like Bruce Arians just did. It's because I don't want to look as I don't look as that I'm being a maverick, that I'm rebelling, that I'm not fitting to the status quo of what they want me to do. Even though it was never mentioned, it's never been mentioned that you had to hire this race or that race. But I just feel, to me, it just seems like, because this thing is repeated so much so that
Right,
I'm starting to believe it's
right,
about it's about being acceptance. I don't want to offend you. And I feel as
right.
though if I bring a soul patrol, I'm gonna offend you if I bring a lot of black coaches in. So therefore, being that I'm the one that know how to hold my tea the right way, I don't want to bring a guy in that he may hold his tea like this here. You know what I mean? That may offend you because he hold his tea different and he doesn't know hold his tea like this. And that's what I'm starting to believe with these guys, because it's going on so often, so much so that it's like, oh man, I don't want to offend nobody. And I just hate the narrative, but it just, to me, it's always the same thing, and it just seems so Uncle Tom to me. It really does, and it's sickening because the fact, if you look at corporate America for a minute, corporate America when you talked about the Silicon Valley and they talked about the young CEOs, the young innovative guys, all those new faces, and those tech companies, what they did, what they brought us, everything that we see right now, everything we utilize, this whole social media world was brought on by what? New faces, new ideas, new people from all
Correct.
different racial backgrounds. Let's try it.
Correct.
Let's get it going. And so it's almost like when you look at the NFL, the reason why we got the same teams winning, the same thing going, is because they are slow to being trying something outside the box. They're slow to being innovative when it comes to using people from other from because you would think if 70% of the league is black, why would we have more black coaches? We had a Super Bowl not long ago with Tony Dungy and Lovie Smith, black staffs, coordinators everywhere, guys like Leslie Frazier, all those guys on that staff, every which way, and we saw something different. But it seemed like since Tony Dungy has left, no black coaches has took the mantle and said, you know what, we're
Well,
going to get some qualified black guys. We're going to do this thing.
and that's sad because like you said, he came on the show. Tony Dungy came on the show. We had this conversation. He actually was intentional. He did what you just said on purpose. That was on purpose to bring in guys, black guys that were qualified that he knew could do the job and that he saw head coaching futures in. He did it 3 times. 3 of those guys ended up being head coaches. And it's sad to say they didn't replicate.
Even
None of
you
them
look at
replicated exactly his game
you
plan, which is
you
sad.
look at Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions hired a Dungy assistant who was a guy that took the coach to the Super Bowl after Dungy left. Jim Caldwell. Jim Caldwell was the last time the Detroit Lions had a winning record at 9-7. They fired Jim Caldwell at 9
Right,
and 7.
right,
They haven't won 7 games since.
right,
They have
right.
been a dumpster fire since firing him. A dumpster fire, a turnstile. So again, it's almost like it's like when are you going to see that these guys can coach? What are we doing? And even the hiring of black coaches, when you look at it, their leash, the leash they're on is so short. They got the brother that got Arizona. You gave him 1 year, and he was out of there.
So MB chiming in on the road. MB, the question basically is why won't black coaches hire themselves? Why won't they do what Tony Dungy came on the show and told us? Very intentional about hiring Leslie Frazier and Jim Caldwell and Lovie Smith, and it feels like I'm missing one. But he was very intentional in doing so. So why aren't those guys replicating? Because you can blame the NFL, you can blame ownership and all the likes, but if we're not doing our part, I think some of us need to shut our mouth. And so I think Mike Tomlin is going to receive a ton of backlash for opening his mouth, and his resume doesn't say he's being a trailblazer by any stretch of the imagination.
And he's been there 14 years.
His resume says I'm a guardian. I'm gonna hold to what this shield, the NFL shield, has stood for, and I'm gonna make sure that I'm the only one get in. It's basically how I feel about what he's done. He hasn't done anything to trailblaze. At that point, when you make it that far, you want to see who you produced, who came behind you. You know what I mean? That's how your legacy.
And
they
to
pull
me,
up these coaching trees, and you see who's beneath you, who actually came out and actually did a ton of stuff after you, and he's not doing that whatsoever.
One of the things I look at, Klew, about all of this coaching thing, the thing that jumps out at me the most is when you get into coaching, you always remember that guy on the left of you, that right of you that started the grind with you. You remember that guy who was the graduate assistant with you. You remember those guys. And so my thing is when you look at guys like Mike Tomlin and you say, Mike, what about the black guys that started right next to you in that foxhole?
Well,
and
well,
no, let me because let me hold up. But let me say something.
They didn't look like him. They didn't look.
No, there were some that did, and because
like him.
You're not going to tip. I just find it hard to believe that when Mike Tomlin got into coaching, there was no other fellow black coaches to the left or right of him.
Pac Jam, they don't look like him.
So
Like,
you're saying when he started, there was no other black guys next to him when he
now
first started got into coaching.
you never speak in absolutes. So yeah, there were always some, but that's not the point. The point is the majority of them didn't look like him. The majority of them look like his staff right now.
Okay.
Okay, and that's the
All right.
problem. And so what he did is exactly what he saw. So it's like you're making it like he started out and he was one of the Tuskegee Airmen. He wasn't.
No,
That
I'm
don't
not saying
exist.
he was a
But
Tuskegee
that
Airman.
don't exist. But that don't exist in the NFL where you come into a pool and it's to the left of you and the right of you and everybody look like you. It's to the left of you
I
and right
still
of you
believe
and it's still three of y'all in the room. That's what it is.
I still believe that there's guys that he know in the coaching fraternity that are black that he could have gave a position that he could have gave a hire to and he did. I just don't think I'm not going to sit here and say
Now you're going a different direction. We both agree to that. But what you're saying is he came up with plenty of them. I don't believe that.
I'm not
That's
saying
what I'm saying.
you misunderstood me. I wasn't saying plenty of them. I'm just saying there was somebody is what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's what all I'm saying. Because one of the things I look at when you look at the white counterparts, one of the things I look at, especially me being an Alabama guy, always looking to hear about and read stories about guys that Nick Saban started out with that was a graduate assistant with him, and guys that had guys he reached back and gave a spot to because this guy was with him in '85 over here, this guy was with him in '88 over here. So that's all I'm saying. And it seemed to me is that's all I was saying. Was there any black guy that was with you when you
Nick
first started?
Saban's been a head coach for 40 years now. You know what I mean? Like you talking, you can't compare the two. That's all
I'm just saying.
The
Mike
situation
Tomlin has been at Pittsburgh. It is the same scale that he's been at Alabama. Mike
Yeah, but
Tomlin's one of the longest tenure guys in the league.
He was at Miami before then, LSU before then, Michigan
But
State before then, and somewhere else before then as a head guy. Like, so you're not speaking the same language when you're talking about those.
Well, I still think in 14 years as a head coach,
you done threw Alabama in there, it don't fit again.
No, I'm just saying Mike Tomlin's been a head coach for 14 years in the NFL. Right or wrong?
MB says when Tomlin got hired, I think it was I don't know, or it was heavily suggested to keep a lot of. Okay, so he was forced to keep. Basically, MB feels like he was forced to keep a bunch of
those guys been gone.
Coward staff. No, he's just saying. He said when he got hired. He got hired. So that's what he's talking about. He's not talking about from that point. Moving forward, he's not giving him an excuse. He's just saying he's answering your question when you said, were there people to the left and right of him that he could have brought on immediately? And be saying the answer to that question, Bill Coward staff, he was basically saying, hey, this is your staff. You need to keep these guys. So that was kicked to the curb. But we're both saying, and I believe MB probably will agree with this, that wasn't enough. Moving forward, you still should have been doing something because MB actually also put this out there saying a reverse quota. So he's definitely agrees with us. He's just saying at the beginning, because that was your talk, at the beginning what happened.
All right.
So the NBA moving to the NCAA right now. Why does it feel like nobody cares, man, about March Madness? What's going on with that?
Well, the reason why no one cares about the March Madness is because, one, I'll be the first to say that NCAA basketball failed us. And what I mean by that is NCAA basketball, with all the conference commissioners included, never had a plan, i.e. plan, like the football did. And you would think being that basketball was after football, that was plenty enough time to learn and to establish a system to go forward. And it seems to me that they didn't have a plan. They went out there and winged it. And so this is why people lost interest. And not to say that they're not good teams out there, but this is why the fanfare, everything has lost interest because the way they did this season.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even with how the kids, like I was just reading today, breaking news, the leading scorer, the best player for Nebraska, one of the top players in the Big Ten Conference said, you know what? I ain't playing no more. I'm finna prepare for the NBA. Short notice. Just came in today. Didn't tell. Came in today and told the coach, I'm done. I'm out of here. You know what I'm saying? And we saw it when we've been seeing a lot of that lately in
Who now
college
is the
basketball.
leading Big Ten?
Big Ten, Nebraska. He was with
Oh, okay.
Nebraska. One of
Okay.
the top players in the Big Ten conference said, "Hey, I'm shutting down. That's it. I'm going to prepare for the NBA." And I just feel that they failed those kids this season on preparation of how they was going to do this season. Because to me, all those blue blood teams who are on the bubble to get in are talented teams. All those
Mhm.
teams, Kentucky, Carolina, Duke, they got lottery picks on those rosters. So
Uh-huh.
regardless of those teams' record, and I know everybody's out there saying, "Oh, Duke's this and Kentucky's that," and guess what? When you look at the NBA projected mock draft, you see players from those three teams in the lottery. So it's so to me, that's an indictment on the way the NCAA did this season and the way the input these kids have given out, because it's like, I don't care.
So okay, so yeah, explain that to us. So Teddy Allen is the guy you're talking about that opted out from Nebraska. But I guess my question is, as it relates to the NCAA tournament, and how has the NCAA failed them? In what ways have they not? What didn't they do to ensure that these guys wanted to finish out the season?
Well, one, they didn't. I don't think they put enough. They didn't put enough promo and enough, not just promotion. They didn't put enough on planning how they was going to do this season. Because again, we know that we know the pageantry and the fanfare of college sports more so than NFL. We know that we know the pageantry and the fanfare is all things college.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, being that we know that, because NFL grown men, you guys can go, you've done it. You guys go out there and play a live game, 4 quarters, giving it everything you got with nobody in the stands. To me, those kids are not wired like that. They're not. And
Mm-hmm.
so I felt the NCAA should have had a plan of how they was going to do this season. And it
They
could have
did have
been,
a plan. The
listen,
plan was to
this
not let them in.
right. Because my thing was, I felt that there should have been a bubble for each conference this season. Kids are online anyway. Kids are online
But
learning
back
anyway.
down, they didn't
But
do that for
listen, listen,
football.
listen to me, listen to me. And I felt the fans, and I felt what they should have did. The fans could have been the opposing teams in the gyms watching these teams play. I felt it could have been a season could have been like that. Each conference had their own bubble, and those in the stands were those teams that was in that bubble. We should have been more innovative than what we did. Putting those kids out there for this season with no fans, no fanfare, I think hurt the product, because we didn't take enough time to realize the importance of fanfare and the emotional thing that goes into it, dealing with 17, 18, 19 year
So
olds.
you
When we
think
know the best players are 17, 18, 19.
the
They're
team
not 22, 23.
the teams would have been okay with having other teams cheering for them? That's not the same as fans.
Not
Like that
listen,
wouldn't work.
it's just like when you go to an AAU game and you got a lot of opposing teams and players be hooping and hollering when the guy get dunked on. They're not cheering for the teams. They're cheering for the play that just happened. Is what I'm saying.
Exactly, but that's not gonna give you the same. I mean, it's gonna give you bodies and people in the gym, but it's not gonna give you the. They went to Duke to see the Cameron Crazies, not to see UNC and Maryland, or excuse me, I done throw Maryland in that Big Ten. UNC, Wake Forest, and Georgia Tech in there screaming and yelling because of plays. Like, I agree with you. The
I'm
plan they
just saying,
had,
being
the
innovative,
plan
that would have
they had
worked
didn't work.
for what we were going through right now. I think that was a better idea, what I just said, than what we just did. Sent these kids a whole season with no fans, no nothing, and you wonder why all these kids have hit the eject button on every site.
So I mean, I think
And nobody cares. Nobody cares because of that.
yeah, I think that's more that has a lot to shucks. I don't know if let's say the fans did do it, but I don't think that would have helped any. And then you're talking about setting up a situation where it cost a lot of money to do. And so
Because guess what? Guess what? Football played with 15,000 fans in those games this season. 15,000, 16,000, 19,000, 21,000. Even during a pandemic, they played with 21,000 in 80,000 seat stadium, 21,000.
Yeah, but
NCAA,
it's not the same language. You're
but what I'm but
one's indoors, one's outdoors. So
no,
it's
but listen, the point
even
I'm making is
according to the pandemic stuff, is one was safer than the other.
no, but what I'm saying is still with that
I
being
mean,
in
the
mind,
NBA's not doing it. So why, like,
but
you're asking them to do something that the
that's
NBA
not true.
can't
That's
even do?
not true. The NBA do got fans. They got
Yeah,
12,000. They got 8,000, 9,000 in Atlanta every night. Atlanta Hawks. That's why
yeah,
this
it's a
game
few
is. That's
different
why the
places,
All Star
different
game.
places.
But I'm just saying that's why the
And
All Star game.
Orlando
Let
as
me make
well.
my point. That's why the All Star game is in Atlanta because Atlanta got 10,000 people in there yelling and screaming. Don't fool yourself. It's about the governors who allowing us to have leeway versus other states who have that are not having leeway. Like California has shut the state down, whereas Georgia's saying party over here. Let's get 8,000, 9,000 fans in the building, baby. Let's chill. That's what I'm talking about.
Right.
And
So it depends on
The
so it depends on
NCAA
where you
could
are.
the NCAA could have relocated like the ACC. They
That's,
could have relocated to
that's
Atlanta.
too much money. You
They
act
make the money.
you're talking, yeah, but you're talking like now you've kind of moved the goalposts. You've changed from it being players to actually paid fans now. So that's a whole
No,
different situation.
well, even players. I'm just saying, Kevin, more should have been done. I'll leave it like that.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
I think we both agree to that. But however, I think it's a terrible product this year. Like,
Of
I'm
course it
sad
is.
to say, and this is the deal. Like, let's face it, let's not sugarcoat it. I'm a Duke guy, but when Duke's bad, UNC's bad, Kansas ain't no good. When that's going on, your perennial real life blue bloods, Kentucky are in the dumps. You're not gonna have to put together a great
And that's why.
product.
And that's why I say.
The NBA is best right now. Why? Because the Los Angeles Lakers are good.
And
Like,
that's why I say it's an indictment on college basketball because all those teams you just named, Kansas, Kentucky, North Carolina, Duke, got lottery guys.
right.
So that's the indictment on NCAA. The NBA saying we want him, we want him, we want him, but yet the records is showing what's going on. Why these kids ain't performing? Why these games ain't being what they are? You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
that's why I say they failed. They failed us. NCAA, and when I say NCAA, I'm just listen to me.
Again,
I know I said
the
NCAA.
stuff you're throwing out there, it's not an easy answer. It's not an easy get. And you're looking at and you're comparing them to a situation that's bringing in tons and tons of revenue. The NCAA makes their money every year during March Madness. During this time, everything is a build for now. And so with guys dropping out left and right, heck, I don't even know who in. I'm always stuck, bubble teams and all this. I know Duke's a bubble team, but it's like, who cares? Nobody's been watching anyway. I think I watched us play twice this year.
And that's the thing. The number one team in the country,
5 college games this year.
the number one team in the country, nobody cares about them. The old guys, Gonzaga, nobody cares.
Well, MB say, what about Michigan's success with Juwan Howard? Juwan Howard's doing a terrific job, and he has a top 3?
He has a top three
recruiting class coming in this year, MB. But the problem with that is he having success during the wrong year, during
the pandemic.
I know that's crazy to say, MB, and it makes no sense. But Michigan's back, and nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
In a normal year, if he's flirting around Duke at Gonzaga's not number 1 and Duke's 1 and UNC's 1 or Kentucky's 1, and these teams I just mentioned are top 5, and Michigan's thrown in that pot, now it means something. But everybody's counting this year in the basketball world, and NCAA is a wash because the perennial powerhouses are no good. It's sad, MB, but that's what we're working with.
I agree with you. And the lottery pick guys are just saying, man, I'm just trying not to get hurt. I'm just going through the motions.
Hey, so they just playing games so they won't get fined.
They just going through the motion. Because, hey, when you got a guy projected to be a number 2 or number 3 pick in the draft, and he's averaging 8, 9 points, 10 points, one game he might hit 25, next game he hit 8 or 9, what is that telling you he's not trying to do?
Well, I mean, we had a guy, Jalen Johnson, at Duke that hung it up. There was a back and forth about him. A couple of the professors, one visiting Duke right now, and Dan Dickott. Was it Dickott? The
Right,
cops, one of them, I don't know. Uh, he uh, he was talking and going back and forth on Twitter, and ESPN has sat him down for a second to discuss with him. But basically, the professor called him out and said, you bad mouthing kids who ain't getting a dime, and you make a living by bad mouthing them. Boy,
right.
that stung him because he didn't like that. And he went back and forth with the professor, and now ESPN sat him down for a while. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, the thing is, I'm familiar with Dan Dickon. He calls a lot of Big Ten. He called the Big Ten games. He is a hothead. He's always been like that. He's a fiery guy. He's a guy that he speaks off the cuff. He's one of those guys that calls a game. You ever seen a guy? Not to say he doesn't does preparation, but he calls a game in such a way it's very opinionated.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's an opinionated guy, and he's made his living off being the opinionated guy from the Midwest. You know what I mean? That's Dan Dickon. He's always been like that. And so
Uh-huh.
what is happening in today's climate, you know, we have refocused on guys that's guys when you talk off the cuff, the wild, wild west, you can just say things and you can say what you're thinking with just no, even as the guy learned, just the words that you use. And so that's what happened to him, you
So,
know.
do you
Go
remember
ahead.
exactly what he said? I read it
I
earlier
don't remember
today.
verbatim exactly what he said, but I'm like I said, he's all he's on. The thing about it is Dan Dickon is a personality, just like Dick Vitale. He's a loose cannon personality. Okay, so you already that's his fame to claim. I watch him call games all the time, but what I'm saying is what the his back and forth, that's who he is. It just so happened his back and forth made him out to be a fool that he is because it showed that he wasn't he wasn't tact and he wasn't conscious to a lot of things these kids going through because in his mind he's another guy, he's another shut up and dribble guy. He's another guy who feels like that kids shouldn't transfer. You should be glad a kid shouldn't get paid. You should be, because he spoke about that. You should be glad that you got a scholarship. You got everything you need. He's another one. He's of that Klew. You know what I'm saying? He's like
Right.
he's of that. You got a university scholarship. You should be happy with that. That's Dan Dickon. He's always been like that. So it
So,
was only a matter of time for they sit him down anyway because he's a loose cannon like that. You know,
right.
that's who he is.
So he said, I had somebody come at me, bunch of academics last night. This is him addressing on his radio show. Two guys and a lady, right? Two guys and a lady came at me and they said, well, you're yelling at student athletes while they're being exploited or something. And I said, look, maybe. See, that's right there. Look, maybe. But I was in the arena and you guys were sitting outside being. So using the female dog word, y'all. Now, remember, it was two girls, two men, and one lady. Guess what that got called? Sexist. Be careful. I didn't even realize I just said being because it's what people do. It's what everybody does. Everyone just bees. But that's sexist apparently because I said blank being and a lady was in the conversation. I sit outside the arena. So basically, he's saying he's being called sexist because he said a lady, and a guy that was talking about him was, bit female dogging basically. And so he's saying basically it's being called sexist because it was a woman in the conversation, and that's interesting. I don't get involved in that part. I just think the crazy part to me was the fact that he completely ignored that I said, look, maybe. When they said, well, you're yelling at student athletes while they're being exploited. And I said, look, maybe. Like the fact that he earns a living off the backs of guys that don't get paid just
And
completely
basically, when he used the B word, he was saying y'all complaining, running your mouths.
right,
And notice he alluded to the fact he said, "I'm in the gym, you
right, and
outside."
y'all
So
outside.
again, it's another elitist attitude. It's another you don't know who I am attitude. It's another I'm covering this thing attitude. Because what has happened is guys like Dan Dickon, who covers the game, feel as though I have a platform that I am more than what I am because I cover the game and you don't. So I can say what I want to say. I don't have to put nothing around what I say because I'm just as important to this thing as any of you are. Because what he said, I'm
I'm in
inside
the gym.
covering the game. You're outside complaining.
And
You
while
see what I'm
we,
saying?
hey, and while we talk about folks being inside the gym, one of us in the three played in the NBA, and two of us did. And he's in the building, Mr. Chucky Atkins. And it's guess what? It's NBA time. How you feel about the NBA All Star Game? And obviously, I think the Kinks don't work themselves out as far as who made it, who didn't. But is it not genius to you to have a halftime dunk contest, man? I think that's genius.
I'm old school, so I might not like my answers. When I was coming up, you enjoyed All Star Weekend, the Saturday night 3-point contest, the Saturday
Right,
night dunk contest. It was a spectacle of itself, separate from the All Star game. So I know today's times calls for different measures, but
right.
you know, um, I ain't gonna be a fan of an abbreviated dunk contest and halftime where guys gonna be some of the guys that probably are involved in the dunk contest gonna be playing in the All Star game. So I ain't really a fan of it, but I understand it just simply because of the times.
Exactly. And that's why I think it's genius. They just always seem to get it right, Chuck. At the end of the
It
day,
was
it seems like the NBA gets it right.
the NBA. They spend a lot of time thinking out how things are gonna play out because it's a brand
Right,
and it's $1 billion industry. So
right.
they get it right. Kudos for them for getting it right. But being a fan of the game and being an alum of the league, it's kind of disappointing. But hey, man, it's better. I guess it's better than having nothing.
Right. Absolutely. And I think that's what we were headed towards. And then here go the second question. Pac Jam, you jump into this one first. Is the All-Star game a little bit starting to lose its luster? Like the Pro Bowl means nothing to the players in the NFL now? Is the
Well,
All-Star game starting to creep that way, or is it just COVID and what's going on right now?
I personally think it's just COVID. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? Like All-Star game would never. The NBA is totally different than the NFL. Like in the NBA, if you're an All-Star, that label comes with a lot of perks, from
Right.
contracts to officiating on the court. You
Uh-huh.
understand what I'm saying? So that can determine a lot. You're viewed differently. Whereas uh, in the NFL, it's a more violent game. Guys go out there and get hurt in a Pro Bowl type situation. That affects their overall longevity for one,
Correct.
and their pay. But for
Right.
basketball, it's totally the opposite. Like if you're an NBA All Star, you're viewed differently by the owners and by the officials.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Pac Jam, you want to jump in there?
well, again, I agree with I agree with Chucky saying that. The only thing about it was with the COVID and the guys was complaining the fact that, hey man, with the season being the way it is, the way the games are set up, the guys just felt the league was disingenuous with scheduling All Star because of what you're putting on their toe, you're putting on their bodies right now, and especially with the minutes that these guys are playing, you asking them to play because with seeding and the games going back to back, so it's almost like, hey man, I thought we was gonna get a 2 week off or a week or 10 days off, and then be able to go back hard at it. But now you guys are, you marketing the league and you're putting this thing in there and you want us to play, but yet you're not looking concerned about our overall physical, conditioning in our bodies. You know what I mean?
Well, look, Kyrie, Kawhi Leonard is getting all the rest he needs, Chuck. So let's go. Let's get right into it, baby. Do the Clippers even matter this year?
Um, I think they do just simply from this perspective. Do I think that they're gonna win it all? Probably not. But I think that they could be a problem for a team because at the end of the day, it's gonna be the war of attrition. You know what
Okay.
I'm saying? So if they end up playing against a team, just say they end up playing against the Utah Jazz,
Mm-hmm.
right? The Utah Jazz has been playing well regular season. Here it is, the playoffs now. They play a first round team and they run through them. Then they come and play the Clippers in the second round, and the Clippers taking the 7 games and wear them out, and then they're sitting there waiting on and the Lakers are sitting there waiting on them. That's going to be a huge chink in their armor.
Right.
So from that perspective, I think the Clippers matter. Do I think that they're going to win it all this year? I think they stand by the chances anybody else that makes the playoffs.
Oh wow, that's low. So Pac Jam, what? Okay, judging by our pro analyst just said, what do the Clippers need to do to change their future right now? Change their
I think the Clippers need
Oh,
more scoring.
are you asking Pac that? Oh Lord,
The
I want to hear
Clippers, I believe that the Clippers need more scoring is what they need. They more consistent scoring because right now they lack consistency in scoring. Because when you look at games that they lose, it's games that when one of the big two had an off night and they don't have that third guy that can be consistent. Lou Williams has not been consistent this season, nor has he been getting consistent playing time. Serge Ibaka is only going to give you he's only going to give you that 15 every night. He's not going to give you more than that 15, and he's been giving you consistently every night. But as far as that 20-point guy, when you look at it, and you look like yesterday, and you look at Paul George shooting 7 for 25 yesterday, 2 for 10 from the 3-point range, that's another game that you say, well, okay, how are we going to unseat the Lakers? Or how are we going to unseat Utah Jazz when Paul George go 2 for 10 from
let
3-point
me
range
let
and
me
7 for
jump in.
25?
So go ahead and answer the question though. What do they need to do so that's no longer a problem? Who is that? Not.
Well, one of the guys they need to go get a guy like a Kyle Lowry. They need to go get a guy that can score. And that's something I've been saying for a long time before it even got on airwaves. Me and you know that yourself.
Right.
I've been saying that they need a guy like Kyle Lowry. They need a guy that can score from the point guard position because the league is built around now scoring point guards, guys that can take that ball downhill, and they don't have that. You look at the game yesterday. You look at 8 3-pointers was taken by Patrick Beverly.
Yes, sir.
8 3-pointers, and he was hitting, and he hit every side of the rim that you could imagine hit. But it was like he reminded me at the fair with my girlfriend trying to win her that battle. And I'm shooting into that goal.
You garbage at the foul, man?
Well, you know that fair got the bent rim. You know the bent rim at the fair where it got to go straight up and come straight down
like
in
it. Excuse, man.
No, you know.
Talk down.
What do the Clippers I don't know when the last time you've been to the fair, but at the fair, their rims are like this. So you got to shoot. Hey. It has to be an all net. You can't bank it. But anyway, to stay on subject, that's what Patrick Beverly looked like yesterday. Because Milwaukee simply said, we're going to let you shoot.
Chuck, jump in there. Tell us what the Clippers need to do to turn the corner so that they ain't just like any other NBA team show up in the playoffs.
I mean, the easiest thing to say is, okay, yeah, they need a point guard, right? That's the easiest thing for you to say. But I'm going to say the same thing that I always tell Pac Jam about the Milwaukee Bucks. They have to change their style of play.
Wow.
Like, okay, you got Kawhi Leonard and you got Paul George. You run 90% of your offense between those two guys.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Then you bring in a guy like Lou Williams off the bench, and you expect him to go off the cuff and just go out there and score you 20 points a night on any given night. And that's kind of hard to do sometimes, especially if one of them get going. You know what I'm saying? So I think that they need to, like, the teams that are the best teams that I've been on, I don't have to get our best players involved. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I don't have to get them involved. They're going to be involved anyways. What we need to do is we need to find out where the rest of the action is going to come from and which one of the other guys is going to be that key contributor. And it's going to be a different guy on different nights. You understand? And that's what makes it hard for teams to stop. Right now, that's what's making it hard for Utah to be stopped. Yeah, you know Donovan Mitchell is going to do what Donovan Mitchell does, but because they're moving the ball so well, a different night, a different guy stepping up every night, and it's like, who do you stop? With the
Right.
Clippers, you know, okay, hey man, we finna go in here, we finna Kawhi gonna shoot the ball 30 times, and Paul George is gonna shoot the ball 30 times, and when Lou Williams come off the bench, he gonna shoot the ball his 15 to 20 times, and like you
Don't
at the
worry
very
about
beginning of those guys being together, okay, yeah, you can fool people. But right now, you ain't, you know, you've been playing for a couple years together. You ain't fooling nobody with that. Same
it.
thing with the Milwaukee Bucks. They ain't fooling nobody with giving the ball to the Greek Freak and going through him and playing through him the whole game. Like Miami exposed that last year. So what do you think gonna happen this year?
Same thing. Pack Jam. So are the Nets primed to win it all, baby? The Brooklyn Nets, they gonna go and win it all. Are they ready to just hoist that trophy up?
I don't think so. And I'm gonna say this because one thing we know about the playoffs is it's not like the NFL where you play one game and you go out there and it's over with. The playoffs is a 4 out of 7 game. You got guys they do a double down on the scouting reports and everybody know everybody's spot set. And the thing about to me that no one's talking about is the fact that you know they're not known to be healthy. And Chucky just mentioned the war of attrition. And we're seeing that quiet as it's kept. We're seeing that with Brooklyn right now. And people not talking about it a lot. But KD's where I'm at right now. He's sitting on the couch. And he ain't sitting on the couch. He's not sitting on the couch playing Fortnite because that's what he want to do. He's doing that because that's what he has to do. He has a hamstring. We all know about injuries, especially you and Chuck. Y'all can attest to this. When you have a major injury in one spot and you're playing and going hard, what that body does.
Overcompensates and other areas become weak.
So it's not by happenstance that he's having real bad problems with his hamstring.
Mm-hmm.
We know Kyrie ain't played 82 games in 4 years.
Wow.
So and he's still, even with a 72 game season, he's not even playing 72 this season.
Hey, look, man, he had to take some personal time.
But he's also been rested because of they've been slight little minor ailments. So what I'm saying is you're asking a lot from those guys every single night.
Chuck, why especially you? Why are you just willing to crown the Nets just off rip? Nobody else got?
I'm not crowning the Nets. Like I said, I think that they have an opportunity just like everybody else does. I go for the Nets just simply because I think that they're a team that can possibly dethrone the Lakers.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying? Like I'm not sold on the Nets. I told y'all that weeks ago, but they every team is gonna go through their spurts to where, they're riding a roller coaster high.
Right.
It may be a couple of weeks from now they'll be losing 5 in a row. But I think that if anybody has an easier road to the championship, if I would pick a West Coast team or an East Coast team, I would say it's them, because none of the teams in the East, other than the Philadelphia 76ers, are really a threat. Like the Boston Celtics aren't playing well. The Milwaukee Bucks, I don't believe in those guys.
Right.
Toronto, they're pretty much done.
They're out, yeah.
Miami ain't the same team. Like no team in the East has made any changes or any difference in their rosters other than the Philadelphia 76ers.
So who can, like the Heat, are they really not going to be able to make a move?
Right now they're looking at Oladipo. If they can get Oladipo without giving up a lot, I look for them to be dangerous.
So let me ask you this question: what is Oladipo going to do for them that they don't have on their roster?
Yeah,
they don't have somebody attacking that rim the way Oladipo does right now. Outside of they need a player like Oladipo can help them a lot.
Don't say that they don't have it. Just say the guy that they do have, they're not allowing him to do that.
No, they need another piece like that, is what I'm saying. Because Tyler Hero is not Tyler
Yeah.
Hero is not an Oladipo.
No way. But what I'm saying to you is this: Kendrick Nunn can do the same thing that can do the same thing that Oladipo do.
Hey man, you bashed me when I was giving Kendrick Nunn credit the last time.
Kendrick
Don't you
Nunn
throw
is
his name out there.
Kendrick Nunn
You
is a
cut my
smaller
throat.
Kendrick Nunn is to me, he's not consistent one, and he's a smaller version of Oladipo.
What you mean? He's the same size, or if not bigger than Oladipo. Oladipo is not a big guy. The difference between Oladipo and Kendrick Nunn is they're gonna put Oladipo out there on the court and they're not gonna say anything to him. They're not gonna say nothing to him. Whether he plays well or whether he plays bad, they're just gonna let him play. If they did that kid the same way, last year they did that to that kid at the very beginning of the season, and he was the rookie of the month every month. And then for some reason they felt like he was shining over Tyler Hero, so they pulled him back.
Mm. So MB got a question. Can the Nets win with their current roster? Also, which trade would you love to see this year? And I think he means that NBA wide. Which trade would you love to see?
I think the Nets gonna have to. I think the Nets gonna have to do the same thing the Lakers trying to do. They're trying to find a big man.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? And there's a shortage of big men out there. So it's like, who do you go and get? Because if anything happens to DeAndre Jordan, like I think that Mike D'Antoni has already proven that, every year he tries to go with the small lineups.
Right.
That ain't gonna get it. You're not gonna beat no team with the small lineups. You ain't gonna beat Philadelphia this year with that. You damn sure ain't gonna beat the Lakers with that. So if anything happens to DeAndre Jordan with the roster that they have right now, they're done.
Okay. So and then the second question, Chuck, is what trade would you love to see this year?
I would love to see
you be ready too.
Me personally, I would love to see somebody give Boogie Cousins a legitimate chance to be on a championship roster. That's what I would love to see. That's just personal.
So being you said that, why do you think nobody's giving him that? Being that you said that, why do you think nobody's giving him that?
I think nobody's giving him an opportunity because of all the other stuff that he's been doing. Some of the stuff that he's done in the past, and then the last 2 or 3 years he's been injured. But I also believe that everybody deserves a second chance because I still think that, he's a serviceable guy. One. Two, I would also love to see Bradley Beal get an opportunity to get out of the cemetery. Like he's
listen. I'm glad you said that. I'm gonna jump on that right quick, Kevin. What Chucky just said about Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal, Chucky, does not have all the sense in the room, and I'm gonna tell you why he thinks he does. Bradley Beal has told organizations to not trade him. He doesn't want to get traded because Bradley Beal wants to qualify for that super max after this season. And once he gets that super max, then he's going to demand a trade. Bradley Beal is just trying to be the smartest man in the room by saying, I want to build here. I love this place. I don't want to be traded. That's because he wants that super max. Once he get that super max, watch what he does then. He's going to be like, get me out of here. And he knows if he gets traded right now, that he can't qualify for the super max.
Okay.
And nobody's seeing that.
So Pat, but what trade would you like to see?
The trade I would like to see, I honestly would like to see Kyle Lowry. I would like to see Kyle Lowry go to the Miami Heat.
Wow. He gritted. That's Pat Riley.
I feel if Kyle Lowry go to the Miami Heat, they'll beat Brooklyn in a 7-game series.
He ain't gonna make a difference on that team.
No, but I'm saying they ain't Pat Riley type of guy. Gritty. Tough.
He is that. He's all things Philadelphia. He's that. I feel they will muck it up against Brooklyn and beat them with Kyle Lowry in Miami.
And then my final question, Will Lee, is the Lakers in trouble, Pat, now?
Not at all.
Lakers in trouble?
I don't believe the Lakers in trouble. I believe the Lakers just going like it's right now. They're going to rest AD. They're not going to rush him back. They're going to hang around the top 3 seeds right now. You know what LeBron doing. Bar LeBron doesn't get injured or whatnot. Knock on wood. And I think the Lakers in comfortable position going in the playoffs at the number 3 or higher seed. I don't think they're in trouble at all. I think when you look at the Lakers, I mean, we have to understand too that hey, you talking about a team that has not had one rest at all. They've been playing a whole year. You've been watching the Lakers. We've been watching the Lakers all year play. It seems like they ain't stopped playing, right?
Right.
So again, they're human people. They're gonna go through some sluggish games. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, nobody wants to get in a 7-game series with them. They don't.
Well, yeah. You know, I feel like we came off that 4-game skid, and we'll be fine. I think we'll be fine moving forward. Let's see. I think Chuck trying to get back in here, but yeah, he probably at a gym, y'all. And if you at them gyms, you know that service is trash. When you inside of a gym, see, like you blocked by any and everything. You know how it is. You walk out of a gym, you get 35 texts. Oh man, Chuck, are the Lakers in trouble? I don't know if you can hear us. Guess not.
Walk it up. All the way down.
I think he coaching now, man. We'll leave him alone. Well, Frank Jam, we appreciate you coming through, stopping out.
Yes, sir. Always.
Up,
it's been a pleasure.
At us, because you know us, baby.
Absolutely.
We appreciate everybody for listening tonight. The sideline, the baseline, where we take you. Full speed sideline to the baseline, baby. All in. We appreciate y'all and have a wonderful night. We'll holler at you on what it is, Friday. So the night, I'll let you Friday. Appreciate you, Frank Jam.
All right, then. Thank you, bro. You have a good night.
You too.